Welcome to Make Your Mark podcast, where guests share their experiences, insights, and tactics to help you accelerate your business. So building, scaling, and monetizing your business is made easier. And I will be your host, Kay Suthar. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Make Your Mark podcast. And oh my goodness, I am so excited for our next guest today. Why? Because I have known him for a little while. We actually met on a marketer's cruise this year in January, and he absolutely blew my mind with what he does and the results he gets clients. I knew I had to bring him onto this podcast, and he really talks about the science and the behavioral patterns of your audience, right? Of your ideal clients, and how basically you don't have to chase them. They'll come chasing you with their credit card. Yes. And so he's going to be telling us a little bit how he's done this and, the best way to get the best results and how you actually present yourself and position yourself out there for your business. So please welcome, oh my goodness, Alex Ford. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited, Alex.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. One of the things I really love about you, Alex, right? You're like, one of the things that we were talking about just off camera, you're like, oh my goodness, things are so busy, so hectic, I'm optimistic. You're saying all these things, like you've got so many things going on, but you're so calm and collective about it as well, right? And I love that about you. Like anything that happens is just like a breeze for you. And I'm guessing this is because of a lot of the behavioral and the science behind human behavior that you have done and all the work that you've done. This is how you kind of manage like the hectic, the chaos around running a business, because we know there's a lot of that going on. But you were just so calm and collective all the time. I love that.
Thank you. But part of it is the psychedelics, if we're being honest. It's part of it is definitely the psychedelics. But yeah, I really have done a lot of work around balancing the two ideas of life being a life or death thing. Like this needs to happen or we're all going to die. Right. Like this emergency is happening. This urgent project needs to get out the door. This funnel needs to work. This challenge has to attract an audience. This podcast needs attention. Like I've spent a lot of time in the space that like there's no time for fun. Don't you know how serious it is? Like we need to make this happen. And I've spent a lot of time in my life like imbuing my company with panic and creating unsafe spaces for my employees and putting pressure on people using desperation as a form of motivation. Wow. But I have also developed the capability and the awareness and the belief that no matter what happens or no matter what the circumstance has been, I have the capability to transform my perception and to be a powerful creator with my stories and to look for the hidden benefits that perhaps are not obvious at the beginning and to have faith and trust in like the truth of who I am and in God or some form of the divine. And that at the very least, having a sad story is not the most powerful version of a narrative that I could be creating for myself. And so I'm doing my best to be in both worlds and to create a safe space for exploration and creativity while also navigating, life as a high priority, like what's important for us to focus on and work on today. So I'm doing my best.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. We're going to go more in depth with all of this, right? Because you're already given so much freaking gold in like the first few seconds of you coming on, right? And I love it. But I really want to kind of take a couple of steps back and find out, who is Alexander Ford, right? Where did all of this come from? What were you doing before, you found all of this out and that this is the way to go and this is how to market and position yourself. So tell us a little bit about what your journey looked like to get you to where you are today.
Okay. So I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I started my first business when I was 12. I was working for my father as he was running a pharmacy. I was stocking shelves and I was being Santa's little helper when I was quite young, I think 5, 6, 7 years old or something like that. So I've spent my whole life working.
Right.
And when I first got into entrepreneurialism, I was building websites back in the day when everything was like HTML and PHP and CSS. So I was reading books and trying to figure out how to write code. I I remember going to like summer camp at the college in Calgary at the time, Mount Royal College, and I was learning to like program and stuff like that, which I didn't
Wow.
really keep up with at the time. I became interested in computers, and I would like build computers, and I liked multimedia, and so as I grew up and I became an adult at the ripe age of 18 or whatever, I started an IT business. So, desk
Wow.
side technical support for employee based businesses in Calgary, Alberta, which is where I live, and network and server administration. And from 18 to, I don't know, say 28 or 29 years old, I really worked quite hard to like try to figure out how to build an IT company. I had at some point like 9 or 10 employees. We had 300 or 400 end users across a variety of companies in the Calgary area that we were supporting. And as I grew that business, what I realized was that most people don't like to pay for IT support. They see it as a sunk cost. It was hard to sell. It was very expensive. It was low margin. And it also didn't feel to me like a problem that mattered all that much. I I was like always very interested in human behavior and why people make the decisions they make and what seems to matter to them so that I could like try to have some meaningful conversation or create some meaningful value. And in retrospect, actually, I was watching some home videos and I saw that when I was quite young, my dad would always ask me, like, why? Hey, Alexander, what are you doing? This, why? Why are you doing it? And so I've connected a dot recently that maybe I have felt like I need to know why,
Uh,
so that I could like answer my father, like give him an answer. Um, and so, like, I'm running this IT company, trying to figure it out. And in 2009, I meet a man. I was at a networking event in Calgary and they handed out tickets to go to this public talk. And I met my mentor, Dr. John DeMartini, and he's a human behavioralist.
yes.
And
I
yeah,
absolutely love him. I've been to his workshops and all sorts and followed him for a long time. He was actually at my book launch in Canada back in 2016.
okay, great. So then maybe we've crossed paths and we didn't realize it
Yeah.
because from 2009 to 2023, I attended the breakthrough experience probably 50 to 100 times.
Oh my goodness.
I became a certified DeMartini method facilitator. I've attended his prophecy program 5 or 6 times. I've been to Imperience 3 or 4 times. I've like traveled to South Africa to spend 10 days in basically Sandton City Mall and then fly home to attend his courses. And I really went down the rabbit hole on the science of human behavior and how we can take command of our perceptions and bring balance and poise and perspective and insight to the mind such that we are the powerful creator and we are in charge of our own destiny instead of being essentially governed by the circumstances and the realities that are happening to us. And the irony is, in that time, I felt really conflicted because I was doing this over here, but I didn't want to sell being a DeMartini method. I didn't want to go out into the world and proclaim that I'm a human behavioralist and I'm going to sell you on, helping you love your life more. Like it didn't feel like a straight path into what I wanted. So I was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I was living two lives. I was traveling the world learning this stuff. And then over here, I was running essentially a mediocre business that didn't really work that well and didn't make all that much money. And um, along the way, I realized the customers who were hiring me for IT services, their actual problem was they had no idea how to get customers. And my problem was I had no idea how to get customers. And so I became interested about marketing. And so somewhere around 20 so John was 2009 to say 2015 or 2014 or something. Somewhere in that era I made a pivot, 2015ish maybe. And I was like I'm going to start figuring out this marketing thing. And I started it technology up. So if you think about marketing on a
Right.
spectrum, at one end, it's tech, and on the other end, it's essentially storytelling.
Yeah.
And so you can build technology up or you can build storytelling down. But you're gonna move in one direction or the other, and you're gonna build a funnel or you're gonna build a webinar. You're gonna do something. And so we started by building websites, and then we ended up evolving that into building funnels, and that evolved into a vertically integrated marketing services agency where we would become the outsourced CMO and also outsourced marketing team for coaches, consultants, service providers, information product creators. And I was really trying to basically solve the problem called how do you go create revenue from a cold market? Like, what does it look like to build a marketing machine that can reliably and predictably produce new customers? And I slowly but surely ruled out every single variable in the system as being the constraint or not. I'm like, is it the website that is the constraint? No. Is it the technology that's the constraint? No. Is it the form of the funnel that you use that is the constraint? Like, do quiz funnels work better than webinar funnels? Do VSLs work better than, like, whatever it might be, challenges, social media summits? Like, whatever the funnel is, whatever the strategy is, I've built it. We've probably churned over the course of my career as a marketing agency 100 clients. I've built thousands of funnels. And, for better or for worse, what I figured out is that one, the thing that most people want, which is clients on demand or revenue on demand or a cold traffic machine that's constantly producing new leads and filling their sales pipeline with like ready to buy customers so that they can do their magic trick, is extremely difficult to build. It is a extremely elusive result. And most people, in my perception and perhaps in my judgment, are hoping to achieve that outcome without being the person who produces the outcome. They're hoping that a unicorn like Alexander will show up. They're hoping that
Right.
a marketing agency who's figured it out will appear, and they can just like say, hi, please go find me a wheelbarrow of money, bring it to my backyard and dump it out so I can do my magic trick.
Wait, are
And
you saying this doesn't work like that?
I'm saying that I am the unicorn. I
Oh,
am the
okay.
unicorn, and I have not been able to do that at the level of expectation that most of my customers are hoping and at worst demanding.
Okay.
Um, and again, like love and light, like I'm not in judgment, I'm not bitter, but I am trying to communicate a reality, which is like I have spent 10 years of my life, 50, 60, 70 hours a week, working with dozens to hundreds of clients, building hundreds to thousands of funnels. And if I am not able to snap my fingers and build a cold traffic funnel that produces high revenue clients so that you can do your magic trick, somebody who hasn't spent that effort is unlikely to be able to do it on demand.
Right.
And most certainly, most entrepreneurs aren't able to do it. And I became extremely frustrated wanting to understand why. What is the constraint?
Okay.
And
So can I just stop you there for a minute? Because I want to take a few steps back,
sure.
right? Well, you said so much, right? All freaking awesome stuff. And I want to take a few steps back because you went from IT to building your own business, realizing this wasn't what you wanted to do, figuring out what was interesting enough that you want to kind of look into, spent years following Dr. Martini and everything. And so I want to know, like, how did you come to that realization that no, this isn't what I want to do, but this seems interesting? Like, was there something that happened to you? Was there a scenario of some sort where you're like, no, this is it, this is what I need to do?
Uh, in a way that I would not have recognized at the time.
Huh.
So I can apply language to it retroactively. And there's a great book that you might want to put in the show notes. Let me pull it up. It's
Okay.
called um, mm, The Goal. It's by, I don't know how to say his name, Eliyahu M. Goldrat. And I'll get you the link so that you can put it in the show notes.
Thank you.
It is such a cool book. It's probably top 3 books I've ever read in my life in terms of insight and revelation and having like clarity of thought around a concept. And so it's a story about a guy named Alex, funnily enough, who is the manager of a manufacturing plant. And he's given notice that if he doesn't turn his plant around in 3 months, they're going to shut it down and lay everybody off.
Ooh.
And it's the story about how this plant manager discovers a mentor. And with the advice of this mentor, he effectively learns the theory of constraints and how to identify the bottleneck in a system or in a business that is essentially controlling the output or the profitability of that business or system. And it walks through a series of ideas, one of which is like, if you want to increase profit, there's 3 domains of control. 1, you can reduce expenses. 2, you can reduce work in progress inventory. Or 3, you can increase throughput. And if you want to increase throughput, throughput is constrained by, at any given time, the critical core constraint in a business, and there's only ever one. And the question is, how do you chase that down? How do you figure out what that is? And then how do you reorganize the rest of the production facility around that one core constraint? If you look back at how I've made decisions in my life, it's always been intrinsic to me that I have looked for what appears to be the core constraint. I'm interested in what the problem is, not what the problems are. I want to know what the highest priority action or inaction is, not what the priorities are. I want to focus on the highest leverage activity, not activity in general. And those things are governed by what people want. So this is like, it's not objective. So 2 ingredients. 1, what's the constraint? But the constraint towards what it is we want, which is governed by a person. So when we look at a business, like an entrepreneur, the business is built around helping that person get what they want. The challenge is what they want is constrained by a bottleneck. And so, I'm selling an IT service. I'm helping them fix their computers, but the computer is not the bottleneck. What I observed is the bottleneck is their capability to attract and acquire new customers,
Right.
and then like service those customers at a profit. But for just about everybody, the constraint is the amount of opportunity available to them to have a meaningful dialogue with somebody that they might serve and gain access to solving that problem so that they can create value for that customer. The biggest bottleneck for most online coaches, entrepreneurs, and service providers is not like how many backs you can crack if you're a chiropractor, although there are some chiropractors that have a full practice and their constraint is literally the ability to crack more backs. But for most chiropractors, they don't have a sold out calendar. And so their constraint is having access to people who want to hire them.
Right.
And that's what marketing is.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Okay, I love this. So there's a lot that you mentioned here. And so what would you say? I mean, languaging and making sure that you're kind of positioning yourself the way people want to hear you, not the way you think that you should be heard, is a big difference. So, what is the biggest mistake that people make? And what's the best way to overcome this to be able to reach your ideal market?
So, one, I think there's an identity transformation that needs to happen for most entrepreneurs.
Okay, well, tell me more about that. That sounds interesting.
Sure. So, like, entrepreneurs are a funny breed. we're interesting characters. We're both like unbelievably pliable in that we're willing to do hard things,
Hmm.
but we're also incredibly stubborn in this commitment to creating a life that we want. And we're really highly resistant to the idea that we should have to do something we don't want to do. So I
Right.
think most entrepreneurs have this sort of like tricky narrative they're trying to navigate. I will do anything and everything it takes, but I don't want to do the things I don't want to do.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
so this is a fun polarity, but it's also dangerous because inside that polarity, things can become unconscious. And one of the things that I believe has really made it hard for entrepreneurs to be clear about what their responsibility is the online marketing industry in and of itself. So let me dig into that for a minute. All markets go through a series of evolutionary steps. And we can simplify it into a standard set of like labels of awareness. So markets begin completely unaware that a problem even exists. They evolve into symptom or pain aware, like they're starting to perceive pain, they're starting to perceive a problem, but they're not quite sure what the cause of that problem is. And then eventually one or many definitions for that problem emerges as the market figures out like what the the cause of the problem that's creating the pain is for them. And then we move into like an evolution or an era of like solutions, because there's often many solutions for the same problems. And then ultimately, markets get to this point where there are so many solutions competing against one another that they're escalating the claims and the promises that they're making to the buyer, that effectively the market becomes completely unbelievable. The consumer is clear they have a problem. They're told 50 different ways what that problem might be. They have access now to dozens or hundreds or thousands of possible solutions, and all of those solutions are trying to outbid each other with making claims that, quite frankly, become unbelievable to the buyer, because not only in many cases are the claims a lie, or is the provider unable to satisfy those claims or bridge the gap between a marketing claim and the actual delivery of the claim itself, but customers begin to have so many experiences with possible solutions that don't solve the problem, that they then begin to hesitate and lack the capability to make a good buying decision. And so they lose trust and faith both in the possible solutions and in their own ability to select a solution that won't make their problem worse or won't cause them to waste their money. And we end up in this Mexican standoff where customers are feeling a pain very clearly. They see that they have a problem, but they're paralyzed because they don't trust themselves to make a good buying decision because they've made so many already that didn't work. And
Right.
also, they don't trust any of the people trying to differentiate between the possible options. And I think the online marketing industry is in that space now. I think online marketers and coaching and information products and service providers of all kinds have found themselves in a bit of a pickle, which is that the market has evolved to a point where customers have the problem but don't want to buy. And
Yeah.
the reason they don't want to buy is more complicated than it might look. And so in that market, if entrepreneurs are hoping, sorry, let me connect one more dot.
Okay.
So we, as online marketers, which is, I'm guessing, a big chunk of your audience and you and
Yeah.
me included,
Right.
we have been told by our market that the way that we solve our problem is by hiring someone else to do something for us.
Right.
We've been told to be successful as a marketer, you hire a marketer.
Yes.
We've been told you hire an agency. We've been told you hire a podcast agency. We've been told to hire a content marketer. We've been told that you need to hire copywriters. We've been told you should hire a coach. And so, and we've believed them because we really want our problem to be solved. And that sounds like a suitable solution. But the insidious sort of underpinning to that frame is that in the process of looking for help, what we've actually done is we've begun to look for someone to save us. We're hoping that someone will appear in our lives and do this thing we don't want to do. We don't want to do video editing. We don't want to do social media posting 3 times a day. We don't want to do our own copywriting. We don't want to do the technology and the automation. We don't want to do the podcast production. And we've decided that being a marketer means we do those things we don't want to do. And so in the process, we've abdicated the identity of marketer to others who are unable to help us solve our problem the way it needs to be solved. So one of the things that I'm helping my clients do is readopt the identity. Instead of waking up in the morning like, oh, why me? Why can't I find someone to help me do this or do this for me? I invite my clients to step into the identity that actually I am the one that I've been looking for. And I've been sort of unconsciously abdicating not the responsibility to do things, but also the identity of who is meant to be responsible for developing and sharing the message that's going to inspire my potential customers to transform into the person who wants to give me their money. And so inside that identity, we can delegate with authority and with power. If we abdicate that identity, we're abdicating also the responsibility for the execution of the behaviors. And so there's a subtle distinction here, which is we can take back the identity so that we can be responsible and delegate and be helped to be the one in the market that our clients need us to be and attract those customers. But if I don't want the identity of I'm the one, I'm the marketer, then it's abdication and it's a secret path towards like, oh, hope to God someone's going to save me. And step number one for my clients, the people who sign up for my coaching program, is to take the risk and to have the courage to take that identity back. I am the marketer that my clients have been looking for.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I like that. All right, so the thing is, I find that because what you've already mentioned is we've been taught for so many years that you need to hire this person, that person, so you put the responsibility on somebody else, right? And there's a lot of mindset shift that needs to happen for us to understand that no, we are the marketer. People are buying into us. That's what's happening, and so we've got to be an all-rounder, right? For people to actually believe, yeah, this person can actually help me, right? Now, there's many, and there's many years it takes of people to actually cultivate a mindset. So going into that shift, what is the quickest way? Because people don't want to wait, right? So if someone says to you, all right, Alex, I'm ready, I'm a marketer, what do I need to do? How do I shift this, right? What's the quickest way of getting around that in our own heads?
Yeah, so great question. So the first thing to understand is that each of us is holding some belief, story, rule, or law that is true for us in this moment. Whether it's objectively true or just true in our own minds is a semantic difference. I'm not saying like the belief we hold is true objectively. I'm saying it's true for us, that we've decided that it's true.
Absolutely.
And so like we could package this conversation up inside that idea. We could say, for example, as an entrepreneur, I have a belief that says marketing is something I don't want to do. So therefore, a marketer is someone I don't want to be. And the reality is that that's a frame. It's just true. And as long as it's true, it's going to govern your thoughts and your feelings, and therefore your actions. Those actions are going to produce results. Those results are going to automatically reinforce the belief and prove to you that this thing that you believe is in fact true. Look at me. I'm not a marketer. Look, it didn't work. I'm not a marketer. Look, they didn't help me. I'm not a marketer. But I want the result that being a marketer would provide. So maybe what I should do today is I should wake up in the morning and I should try to change my behavior. Maybe what I should do is go get like an Alexander to tell me to put a content calendar on my wall.
Right.
And even though I've followed no authority in my whole life because I'm an entrepreneur, I'm definitely going to follow the authority of this calendar on my wall that Alexander told me to do. Right?
Yeah.
Or maybe what I could do is I could hire Alexander and him and his agency could show up in my life and maybe he'll tell me what to do. Hi, Alexander. Thank you for being here. I would like the results. Please just tell me what to do. And my response to them is like, oh, wait, so I'm the CEO of your business now.
Right.
Like that's kind of what you're saying. What you're saying is, Alexander, I work for you now. But that dynamic is broken because I work for you. I'm helping you. You're not working for me. And so these subtle energetics of like, I'm not the marketer. I don't want to be the one to decide. I don't want to be the one to be responsible for coming up with a plan because Alexander, I've decided that coming up with the plan means I need to do things I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And so the frame that we need to break is not actually I should become a marketer. The frame that we need to break is marketing means doing things I don't want to do. Being the marketer does not need to mean that. Okay? Being the marketer means I am responsible today for producing the outcome I want in my life by recruiting the help and the support and by learning the skills and by developing the capability either on my own or with a team who supports me in their gifts in what they want to do in order for us to solve the following challenge. How do I help my customer decide that they want to give me their money? It is the core constraint. So if my job today is be the marketer who satisfies or comes up creatively with the answer to the question, how do I help my potential customers decide that they want to give me their money so that I can help them the way that I want to help them? We create a totally different question. Because what I'm imagining is most people wake up in the morning and they go, oh, how do I do all this shit that I decided I don't want to do today? And the answer is you don't want to do it, so you don't come up with it.
Yes. That's true. But do you still feel like, you're talking about being a marketer, right? But it's also being the CEO, right? The leader in your own business, right? The people that you hire should be looking up to you. But as a CEO, don't you feel like it is your responsibility to know and to find out how to do all these things that you don't necessarily want to do, but in the beginning when you're building your business is a necessity?
Sure, but we can okay, so let's try this on.
Hmm.
Let's say you've decided doing marketing is something you don't want to do.
Hmm.
And then you're like, okay, I'll be open. I'll try on this new frame that being a marketer is actually an identity. And to be a marketer means to answer the question, how do I help my ideal customer decide that they want to give me their money? Let's just say that that's the foundation. Okay,
Right.
great. So now we're waking up in the morning, and what I'm hearing you ask is, well, Alexander, are you really saying that I can get away with running a business such that I do only the things that I want to do? Because that seems to me like I'm being irresponsible. That
Right.
seems to me like, actually, Alexander, I've been told by David Goggins, and I've been told by Alex Hormozy, and I've been told, by all these people that the way to win in life is by doing hard things. The way to win in life is by doing, by definition, shit I don't want to do. I don't want to exercise. So therefore, the way to get fit is to exercise. And because I don't want to exercise, the way to get fit is to do something I don't want to do. Well,
Mm.
I would like to invite you to be creative. What is the reason that exercise is something that you don't want to do? Is it possible that you could sell yourself on wanting to do exercise? Wouldn't you be far more effective and capable in doing your exercise if you were sold on the idea that exercise was something that you wanted to do? Then the next question I might ask you is, whose job is it to sell you on that idea?
Right.
Is it my job to sell you on the idea? I'm trying pretty hard right now to sell you on this idea. But
Right.
there's a meta frame here which should be magic for your audience, which is, why would I want to have a story that the way to get what I want is to do something I don't want to do, such that I then choose consciously not to sell myself on a story so that I can get what it is that I say that I want? Why would you not wake up in the morning if your job is to run this business you say you want, and the constraint in your business is figuring out how to get your ideal customer to want to give you money so that you can help them do what you say you want to do. Okay. And then say, but there's something in front of me that I think I have to do, or I might want to do, but I don't want to do it. And so, therefore, the decision I'm going to make is I'm going to choose to do something I don't want to do instead of sell myself on wanting to do it. Then that
Right.
means you must have an agenda to tell the story that you're doing things you don't want to do. Or the
Mm.
reason you don't have what you want is because there's things between you and that you don't want to do. And you're neither creative enough to transform your own perception, to sell yourself on the idea, to enroll yourself into the process, or you failed to be creative in enrolling someone else into doing the thing that you want done, or find somebody who naturally wants to do it, or decide that there are other paths you do want to do that help you avoid completely what you don't want to do. But if
Right.
you've decided the path to what you want is on the other side of what you don't want, you're fucked.
Oh, oh my goodness. Okay. I love this. I love this. It's freaking awesome. And the fact that I like the way I've known you for a long time, but you just say it how it is. It's the truth, right? This is the freaking truth, right? And so I can feel like there's going to be people listening to this thinking, but it's hard. It's hard to get up in the morning. It's hard to get to the gym in the morning, especially in the winter. Right? People are listening from London. They're gonna be like, "It's raining out there. It's hard." Right? How can I get the result and not have this become as a bigger burden as it feels like it is? Right? How can I get the results that I want? There must be another way because there's so many people out there saying there is another way, right? Why can't I just get the fat pills and just take them and lose weight? Why do I have to go to the gym? Right? People want the easy way out all the time, right? Because it's convenient, doesn't take time out of their calendar, right? What would you say to someone that approaches you in that way?
Well, no, first of all, I wouldn't try to sell them on something that they don't want to do.
Hmm.
Like, you're not going to hear me wake up in the morning and get on YouTube and make a video that sounds like, hey, you should do this,
Right.
even if you don't want to do it.
Right.
That's not loving, you
Mm-hmm.
know? The second thing is I'd be really curious about like why it is you think you want that thing.
Okay, so it's always going back to the why.
Yeah, I mean, like we've decided, like this whole story is like, I think I want something.
Mm.
That thing I want is on the other side of something I have decided I don't want. And so either I don't want the thing or I've created a story that what I want is on the other side of what I don't want. Why don't we be creative? How do we get what you want in a way that you want to get it?
Right. Okay.
And I think most people are like, "Oh, that sounds like a stupid question. I feel like I'm getting away with something." Like it's really weird all the feelings that come up.
Mm.
But also I would love to go in a different direction, and this direction is something that I think most marketers completely fuck up and most people are like hoping to avoid. The
Okay.
thing that we're looking to avoid is not some hard thing. The thing we're looking to avoid is some fact or some feeling that might be true for us that we don't want to face and feel. There's some truth in front of us. Um, so like, let's say I say that I want to lose weight, which is like, the promised land. The goal
Yeah.
is six pack abs, whatever. I lost weight, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm currently saying I have the problem called I'm overweight, but I'm not solving that problem. The reason our customers are not solving their problems and the reason we are not solving our problems is because inside our current reality, inside our current frame, inside our current belief, there's a factor of feeling that comes with painful emotions: anger, sadness, grief, despair, terror, fear, friction, frustration, whatever it might be, that we're actually hoping to avoid. Hopefully, I could become the person who has six pack abs while avoiding the feelings that might come with acknowledging who I currently am, acknowledging my current beliefs, acknowledging my current frame, or being truthful about who I am and what it is I say I want. And for those of us who have the courage to move into our truth and to express the facts and the feelings that likely come with those negative feelings, what we gain access to is transformation. The
Mm.
transformation we say we want is not in, it's not something you buy. It's not something I sell you on with features and benefits and how your life is going to be better. And you can see this. It's like you get a Facebook ad every day. If
Yeah.
you do this thing that I have, you'll get the thing you say you want. And you're not convinced. You don't click, you don't buy, right? You say you want six pack, 100 people are selling you something that could lead you there, including Ozempic, including pills, including surgery. But
Right.
the people who have this complaint aren't taking action and they're not buying. So clearly, what they need is not more of the pleasure, the future possible fantasy land. What we're actually needing is to be honest about something that's true for us. And when
Okay.
we step into that, or when we are as marketers, lead our clients into the truth of that, they gain the power to transform. Let me give you one example.
Okay.
Um, One of the fears that I have is if I lose weight, I will become less connected with a spouse I'm already in a fragile relationship with. And we might discover that I cheat. We might discover that I want a divorce. We might
Mm-hmm.
discover that I'm not in love,
Mm-hmm.
or I might become threatening, or they might leave me. So I say I want to lose weight, but did you know there's a stat that like 71% of couples where one of the couples has a significant loss of weight end up in divorce?
No, really?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Why is that?
I don't know why.
Oh,
I just there's data on this that a
interesting.
significant weight loss event in a couple results in divorce.
Interesting.
Why might that be? Well, you become a different person
That's true. You
when
do.
you lose weight. You become a different person when you change how you eat. You become a different person when you gain evidence of your discipline and evidence of your capability and evidence of your power and evidence of like what you're like you see yourself differently. You become a new person. That person makes different decisions. That person has different feelings. That's a scary thing. I'm scared of who I might become.
Ah.
How many people are marketing fitness and recognizing how scary it is to become a new person? None of them. You know why? Because they're scared of becoming a new person.
Ooh. Okay. Okay. So, Alex, I've got a question to ask you here, right? Someone said something to me, and they said to I asked them a question, and I was like, how do you become successful? How do you get to that point of pushing and pushing and pushing and getting those results? And they turned and said something to me that I didn't expect, right? They said to me that you need to act, talk, and behave like the person you want to be right now. You don't wait, you do it right now. And that's where you will see success, right? So, from what you're telling me, I'm hearing this again in a different way, right? So, I'm assuming this is so freaking true. So, we need to transform right now mindset, like even if it's physically, whatever it is, and be the person we aspire to be and do it right now today. Is that true?
Yes, but that sounds very Instagram affirmation-y.
Okay. All
And
right.
so I want to like put an asterisk on what I think that means.
Okay. Go for it.
That person is honest about the pain that it costs to get there.
Mm.
That person was honest and let go of all of who they weren't in the past, which means they had to be honest of who that person was.
Mm,
For me to lose weight, I need to decide it's not okay that I'm overweight. I don't live in a fantasy land of being fit. I live in the truth that I'm unfit.
mm,
I live in the truth that it hurts to feel this way, to feel shame and guilt and embarrassment when I look in the mirror. I was honest about how I was failing to ask for what I wanted sexually with my partner because I was upset about how they might perceive me, or I didn't trust that they loved me because I wasn't good enough in my own mind. That
right.
person, that person with the six pack, that person with the business success, the thing that they needed to be honest about was not how great it was going to fucking be. The thing they needed to be
Mhm,
honest about was how much hard work went into it, how difficult it was to lead people, how fucking scary it was when they were almost unable to make payroll and they had to borrow money from friends and family while they were ashamed to do it because they wanted to be proud in the eyes of their father. The things
yeah.
that we're hiding are not the affirmation good shit about what it means to be successful. The things we're hiding is everything we're afraid of. But
Mm,
when I step into a room and I share my fear and I share my anger and I share my frustration and I choose to be vulnerable and I expose the parts of myself that I've been hiding so that I can be honest about where I'm at, two things happen. One, I feel sad. I feel angry. I feel frustrated. And in the past, I've been terrified of that because I was thinking, maybe this is bottomless. If I step into my anger, maybe it will last forever. If I step into my sadness, maybe I'll become a victim. If I step into my fear, maybe I'll be paralyzed in inaction. Maybe if I tell people what I'm embarrassed of, they won't love me anymore. But what I have
mm,
found is that when I step into circles, and I'm in all kinds of different circles, circles of psychedelic facilitators, circles of like great business masterminds, circles of friends who love me deeply, who won't let me get away with my shit. And I choose to share those things about myself. What I get is love. What I get is like people who hold space for me. What I get is a woman who loves me more deeply, not less, and then I become capable of change. And so as a result, I've changed so much in my life, but I've spent years paralyzed. What if they find this out? What if people find out I haven't been able to build a successful funnel for every single customer who walks in my door? What if they find out that actually marketing is really hard? Will they still give me money? What if they find out that I'm overweight and I haven't figured out how to manage my food? And I'm embarrassed of how I look. What if people find out? So, you know what? Better to not talk about it at all.
yeah. Oh,
But
wow.
the transformation in that identity doesn't come from the happy thoughts. It comes from the parts of ourselves that we've been afraid to admit. And
Mhm,
so I agree. We should step into the identity of that person who has the fitness results we want. We should step into the identity of that business person who has the results that we want. But I'm just going to be clear. What they do that's different from the person who doesn't have the result is they're
yeah.
more honest about it and they're
Mm,
hiding less and they're
okay.
feeling their feelings about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I know a lot of listeners are probably thinking, all right, I would love to act, behave, talk like the person I want to be, but how do you do that without feeling guilty because you're not there yet?
So you use the power of your imagination.
Okay.
Like, what would it look like to create a successful photo? What would it look like to run a successful campaign? How would I behave if this were true? I mean,
But
we
then
ask the question.
doesn't that almost go into the point of like fake it until you make it? And then if you're faking it, then you're not being authentic.
There's all versions of you inside of you.
Hmm.
What does
Okay.
authentic mean? Like, if I wake up today and I'm like, what would the version of Alexander who is like at the peak of his performance and health do today? And then I get an answer like, okay, well, he would go for a walk. He would participate in some active recovery. He would stretch his muscles. He would eat, a balanced portfolio of macronutrients, and he would like make sure he hit his protein goals, and he would lift, some weight, and he would do some progressive overload training. Like what would that version of Alexander do? Okay, well, he could do those 10 things. Okay, great. Well, what of those 10 things do I want to do today?
Okay.
That feels authentic to me.
Right. Okay.
But
Oh
like
my.
living in a story, actually the opposite story that we're sort of competing with here is um I woke up today and I decided I wanted to be fit and then I lied to myself about it and did nothing. We're saying that version is more authentic. Like which version are we listening to here?
Interesting. Okay, and that version is what most people do,
Yeah. Well, the
right?
authentic version of me wants to eat these Cheetos while having a story that I want to be fit. Well, okay.
Why can't that work? Huh? Why can't that work?
Look, you can eat Cheetos and you can lose weight. You just have to eat less. Like there's a way to
Right.
get what you want. If I want to wake up and I want to get fit and I still want to eat Cheetos, you're a powerful creator. You can do it. I believe in you.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Alex, I feel like I can speak to you all day long, right? On all sorts of different things, business, mindset, human behavior, all sorts of things. Um, and so we've gone through a lot of different things. Is there any last things that you would like to share with the audience that we haven't covered and you think it's really important to share?
Transformation happens in the truth. And this is true of your customer. The reason that your customer is not buying your product or service is not because of you. It's not because of your product or your service. It's not because they haven't understood the features or the benefits. It's because between you and them is a decision in their mind that they're ready to transform. Their objection is not to the product, their objection is to their own transformation. And so, as marketers, the highest point of leverage that we have access to today is to develop the capability to help our customers make the transformational decision, to help them be honest such that they have access to that transformation. And once they have access to their own truth and therefore that transformation, purchasing your product or service is an inevitable or likely outcome. The action we're looking for in the customer is not purchasing the product or service. The action we're looking to create in the customer is to help them step into the truth that enables the transformation, the result of which will be a purchase of some kind.
Okay.
And so make it less about you and more about the person sitting across from you who is scared, who is sad, who is angry and frustrated in a sea of marketing surrounding them, telling them if only they had more discipline and if only they were more courageous and if only they were a better fucking human, if only they were more of a man, of course they would buy our shit. That isn't working anymore. Shaming the
Yeah.
customer into action doesn't work anymore. It really never worked. I mean, they just did it because they were desperate,
Yeah.
but they don't want to be shamed. Your customer wants to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to be felt. They want to be loved. And so, those of us who have the courage to move into our own feelings, those of us who have the courage to take our customers by the hand and lead them into their scary truth, are going to be the most successful marketers in the next era of online marketing. Make no mistake, This era is over. The market is broken. We're at peak claims escalation. If you keep trying to like tinker with your funnel and increase your show up rate, you're going to fail. We need to start back at the beginning in the identity of the customer and understand the science of behavioral change and what it means to create transformation. And so if you want to learn more about that, there's resources in the show notes. There's a link to watch a video about the levels of awareness and how to think about talking to the market. But there's so much more to it than that. So I'm always available. You can message me on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube and I'll get back to you.
Fantastic. Oh my goodness, Alex, this was like gold dust. Like what you presented to us was like freaking gold dust. It was amazing. And like I said, I could talk to you forever, right, around all sorts of different things. Like every time you open your mouth. Thank you so much for coming onto the show. And guys, connect with Alex, right? The links are below in the show notes. Connect with him, stalk him out on social media, right? Because everything he's saying makes total sense. And you don't want to get left behind, right? He already said the market's changing. Do not get left behind. Make sure you connect with Alex, learn more about what he does, because as you can see and hear, he is freaking awesome. Alex, thank you so much once again for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.